We are doing something a little bit different this month for the newsletter and doing it in spoken word form. I am a big fan of podcasts myself. I just think it's so efficient because I don't have to sit there and read something. I can actually do laundry, or I can be on the road, or in Micah's case, he can brew while listening to podcasts in spoken word. And so this month, I want to talk a little bit about our story on how we started the brewery and why we started the brewery. And of course, this is just from my perspective. And so Micah's perspective may be very different. And who knows, maybe next month he'll share his perspective of the journey. But a lot of you may have heard this, you may have heard bits and pieces of this, and you may not have heard it at all. We've heard so many times, even from our very active customers that are always in Intuition, that they don't actually know why we started. And so, hope you enjoy this episode, and please leave us feedback. Do you like this style of storytelling? Would you rather read something? Let us know your thoughts. Okay, so our journey began when Micah and I were dating. He's my husband now, but we were dating at the time, and we were very serious about each other. We started dating later in life. I was 30, almost 30, and he was 30 when we met. We met through some mutual friends that we happened to have in common, which feels dumb saying out loud because that is the definition of mutual friends. But we had these friends in common, and they thought we would be good for each other, and they were right. And so as we were dating and getting more and more serious and started moving in with each other, we had this issue, which was I lived in St. Peter. I had a townhome there. It was super cute. Would love to tell the story about that one day because I love St. Peter. And of course, I love Willmar too. But I really enjoyed St. Peter, and I had the space there. Micah had a home that he built on his grandma's previous land that he was, well, not necessarily living in, but that he owned. And we decided we didn't need to be driving back and forth all the time just to be mowing lawns or just to be making sure that the water is running okay. It just seemed silly to pay two different rents and be having to do this back and forth. And so luckily my job is very flexible. My other job, for those of you who do not know, I'm a program manager for a home visiting program for new parents. It's absolutely wonderful, and I really love it. It's a 8-county region in southern Minnesota, and luckily my employer was really flexible in allowing me to be able to move and work from home and continue the great work at this home visiting program. But Micah wasn't as lucky because you cannot brew for a big brewery at home. Micah worked at Shell's in New Ulm. If you're not familiar, you should really go to Shell's because it is a super cool place, especially in the summer because there's this beautiful garden area. It's really historic. It's got some beautiful brick buildings. I think it is the oldest brewery in Minnesota. It may be the second oldest. Please don't quote me. I'm not a historian. But it's one of the older breweries. And so it's a really experienced brewery, and he really enjoyed it. He had some really great mentors, Jeremy and Dave, who are the head brewers there. Were really fantastic people to learn from. He learned the policies and professional procedures for brewing. He learned great tips, just things that you would not learn just from home brewing. And so it was a fantastic experience for him. But again, we could not live outside of Willmar in Lake Lillian and him driving an hour and 20 minutes to work every day. That just was not realistic. And so we started thinking and manifesting and trying to just figure out, how can Micah do what he loves and us live in one location? Because the thing of it too was, my rent was going up. Micah's, I don't know what it is, his property taxes, I guess, you'll have to ask him, those were going up. So we could not afford to have two different places either anymore. So what we ended up doing was, I did not re-sign a lease. I was like, I don't care what happens, I'm not re-signing a lease. This doesn't make sense. I want to live with you in one place. However, Micah was, again, still working in New Ulm, so he was lucky enough to be able to live part-time with his brother, sister-in-law, and their children in their basement for quite a few months. And he did that in the past too, just because before we were together and he was working at Shell's, he couldn't commute from Lake Lillian. But we were very lucky to have that option, and that they were willing to help us out. They lived in Hutchinson, so it really wasn't too far from Shell's. I think it was somewhere around 35 minutes, maybe more. But that wasn't a long-term solution, because they were expanding their family. Morgan was pregnant. I mean, there were lots of things going on, and we, again, just wanted to live together. But we knew we had to do it in a certain way to make it work, and that just because we want it this way doesn't mean it's going to happen. And so we just started looking around. We started chatting with people. Micah started applying to jobs. He did some outreach to different breweries. I mean, the goal was for him to brew at a brewery. We just didn't have in our plan that we would have the brewery. Neither of us are much of business owners at the time, at least. We weren't looking to run anything. We were just looking for Micah to be able to do the thing he wanted to do. And unfortunately, in the area, there was nothing. And in hindsight, we didn't realize how hard it was for breweries to just be able to hire a brewer. The industry at this time was on the decline and just wasn't making as much money. And with small breweries, which is what's around us, that just wasn't going to work. And so we continued to just keep our eyes and ears open. And we were on a walk one day. This was before the transition, the full-time transition, where I moved into his home and he lived with his brother and sister-in-law. And we were on a walk and we were just talking about, like, wow, it's a bummer that Micah can't brew at Foxhole, but it's totally okay. Like, we get it, and we love that they're going to continue making great beer there. And all of a sudden, my ears just started ringing. And I look over, and there's this statue of a fox. And I don't know if you all have had this feeling before, but once in a while, I'll get this feeling, and the words will come out of my mouth before I'm even processing what I'm saying. And what I said was, there's something at Foxhole. There was nothing I knew behind it. All I knew is that the universe or God or whomever or whatever you believe in was communicating something to me. And at the time, Foxhole was in our location. I really didn't know much about them because I'm not from the area, so I didn't know they had these grand plans to move and be in this big, beautiful space. And so I just thought, okay, well, I'm just going to leave that there. I said it out loud to Micah, and he was also like, okay, well, that's great. And we reached out, and we found there's nothing there. We found that they don't need a brewer right now. So I don't know what you're talking about, but he had an open mind, even though he knew I was a little bit woo-woo about it. And so fast forward, about 2 months later, we go to Foxhole. We go on this date and we're excited because we love date night. We love going to breweries. And Micah presents me with this idea. He heard that Foxhole was moving. We had no idea what was happening with the space, if it was already sold, if they were renting. We did not know what was going on with that. But he just said, what if we took over the space? And immediately I was like, yeah, that's what that feeling was about. That's what this is. Let's do it. And Micah was like, oh, wait, no. Like, this was too easy. You're too excited about it. Now I'm feeling nervous. So it was just this really unique experience that we had. And I then had to reassure Micah, no, we can do this. This sounds fun. When he's thinking, he had to convince me that this was a great idea. But I was on board basically before he even said the words, just because I knew something was there. I had that intuition, keyword here, right? I had that intuition that something was happening. So we inquired and we found out that the space was being rented and we could reach out to the landlords. And so we did reach out to them, and that's what started this entire process. And I remember going there in either the end of January or beginning of February in 2023. And we both left the place and we just kind of looked at each other like, oh my gosh, are we gonna do this? We're not gonna buy this, are we? We're not business owners, are we? and we were just giddy. We were giddy and excited and hopeful, and these doors were just opening for us that we did not anticipate, and yet the signs were there all along. And so from there, we just continued that process, and we ended up opening our doors in December of that year. That was how fast that turnaround ended up being, which was thrilling and painful. And if you're a business owner, you probably know all about this, of all of the fees and the licensing processes. Oh, the licensing for alcohol is just a pain. You have to go through the federal government, the state government, the county, the city. Everybody wants their piece of the pie with it, and there's so much paperwork. I call that the summer of paperwork, because it was just endless piles, and you couldn't finish one thing without having 3 other things within it finished, and it just was this monumental task. But it was exciting, and we had both thought to ourselves, we're stressed now, and we're scared, and we're excited, but we're going to be okay when the brewery starts. We are going to be more confident. We are going to feel much better about it. We are going to be less stressed. And that was not true. And I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about that next month on the next episode. And hey, if you have an idea for what we should call these spoken word / podcast / recording thing, maybe that's what we should call it, let me know. And let me know what you want to hear about next. So hope you're having a good month, and don't forget to put Oktoberfest, which is Barntoberfest this year. This is to support the Barn Theater on October 11th from 3 to 7 p.m. Barntoberfest, which is the annual Oktoberfest celebration, will be October 11th. Please come, have a great time. We'll have a stein holding contest, we'll have live entertainment, lots of fun things going on. See you then.
I'm not even close.